Hi everybody, and thanks for watching my video. I decided that it might be easier to make a video to explain a lot of the information and the techniques I've been learning rather than trying to type it out or just refer people to other sources. So this is the first video. I decided it was a good idea to make this because it's been quite an adventure. And like I said, I learned so many new things. And I also had to unlearn some old things. And the learning doesn't stop. I easily learn something new every week, probably several things. But the research that's going on and the amount of success that other people is having really does paint a brighter picture for all of us. So hopefully there's going to be a lot of follow-up videos because there is a lot to communicate. It is tough for people to make changes. I've realized that, because when people saw me kind of transforming, losing weight, feeling better, they asked me what I was doing, and I would share the information with people, and um, some people had success and some people didn't. And I started this with a couple of friends who did really well. In fact, my one friend blew me out of the water pretty much with progress. He lost weight faster. I mean, that's the first benchmark, right? Everybody loves to cut body fat when they're not as lean as they'd like to be. Um, but a lot of other people didn't have the same sort of success, but they also didn't have the same sort of investment in time and learning that I did. So, and then maybe not as much motivation. So I'm going to get into that and explore that and see if we can help more people turn the corner. Um, One of the big stumbling blocks is there's so much misinformation or bad science or whatever. Just wives' tales. I don't know what you want to call it. And for people to make changes that is contrary to what they've been told over and over again, decade after decade. So I hope that we find ways to help people get through that. And I'm sure not everybody has the same hang-ups or obstacles. So there's probably a lot of different things to address there. And I'd say this adventure was kind of unusual because it started out kind of by accident, but kind of deliberate. It was deliberate in that I needed to do something, but the some things that I achieved were greater than what I originally intended. So what did I do? I changed what I eat in a way contrary to what I was brought up to believe was the right way to eat. I changed when I eat. Um, you can learn techniques of doing one of the most important things, especially when it comes to losing weight and dealing with autoimmune disease and stuff like that, is techniques like intermittent fasting or prolonged fasting. And I changed my activities. I actually don't work out as long or as hard as I used to, and I get much greater results. Um, by taking in the stream of data that's coming in from the universities, the laboratories, various doctors and PhDs and fitness experts and athletes, you can figure out why things haven't worked in the past and better way of doing things, more efficient ways of doing things. And it's a concept that's often referred to as smallest effective dose. You might work out 5 times longer, but the difference between working out a fifth as long as that may be far more productive because you hit that point of diminishing returns early on, and sometimes you can get a lot more accomplished with a lot less and risk less energy and burn up less time and just get less frustrated. So I had arthritis pretty bad by the end of 2016, man. It was tough just to turn a doorknob some mornings, much less push a button or whatever, you know. And I also had psoriasis. I was just gross people out by telling them the story about how I'd bleed through my clothes sometimes. So take a shower, towel off, put on clean clothes, and then the skin would often open up, and you start bleeding. You put fresh clothes on, and you gotta take them off, put them back in the laundry. So that's much better. The arthritis is gone, and the psoriasis is almost gone. It's much better. I used to have allergies like seasonal allergies or hay fever kind of allergies. They seem to be gone. I did not expect that. I had lower back pain for at least 10 years. I'd get sciatica so bad that like I couldn't roll over in bed sometimes. I'd be dragging my left foot behind me when I was walking. I couldn't walk normal. I lost a lot of fat. It's tough to estimate exactly how much fat I lost, but probably in the realm of 80 pounds. Because pretty soon after I started losing a lot of weight, I felt better. And like when your back doesn't hurt and your arthritis is gone, and you like, well, you want to do stuff. And I started working out again, and I started putting muscle on. You get older, you think it's going to get harder. Well, it got easier to put muscle on. But of course, muscle weighs more than fat. So then the scale starts going crazy because you're like, hey, I look leaner. I could see my cheekbones in my face for the first time in a long time, but somehow I'm not losing that much weight. Well, it's because you're offsetting fat with muscle. So at some point you stop looking at the scale because it's not really giving you meaningful information. So, but it was a nice surprise that just changing the diet made it so much easier to put muscle on. So the secret to success from my standpoint is really just to keep learning and keeping your head in it. There's so much to learn. I just keep telling myself this is the most important thing I'm doing. I make it a priority by realizing that there's people around me with diabetes, there's people with cancer, there's people with all kinds of autoimmune diseases, stuff I've never even heard of before. And people are dying. My grandmother, she died of Alzheimer's, which can be addressed by a better diet. My mother fought breast cancer for 25 years and then died of pneumonia, and much of that could have been greatly improved by a better diet and better information about the diet. And then I lost a good friend and coworker a year after my mom, almost to the day. She died from esophageal cancer. And this too was something that I'll get into later that could have been addressed. But we just didn't know at the time. And it's kind of ironic that after those tragedies and having other friends with cancer, that you find out that there was something that could have been done about it a long time ago. So, I mentioned before I had a friend and his wife basically that were both doing this the same time I was. So we got to talk to each other quite a bit, and that helps. And I took a lot of notes. I learned so much stuff. I knew I wasn't going to retain it all. And I would listen to audiobooks sometimes 2 and 3 times over to absorb it all. Because it's a lot. It's a lot to absorb. And not everything is a fact that is going to cause you to do something different. But it's a supporting fact. It's like it reminds you of why you're doing this. And then when you hit those unusual situations, you're like, oh, I wonder what I should do. You can reflect back on those supporting facts and they help you make better choices. So one thing leads to another. This really started out with somebody suggesting that my friend and I should learn how to control our insulin, which kind of played with a comment from someone else who said that they were told they had carbohydrate intolerance. Now, I wasn't aware that you could control your insulin without drugs, and I wasn't aware that something called carbohydrate intolerance existed. But that led to learning about low carb diets or low carb lifestyle. And the low carb lifestyle learned or way of eating learned to learning about ketogenics and the ketogenic diet or ketogenic way of eating, which led to the carnivore diet or carnivore way of eating. And also intermittent fasting, extended fasting, thermogenics, and many, many other topics. I don't like the slides or any one video to get too lengthy because I'm afraid that people are just going to get overwhelmed, or they'll see oh my gosh, a 3-hour video. I don't want to watch a 3-hour video. So I'm going to try and break them down into smaller, shorter, faster videos, because I don't want to overwhelm people, and I know that my enthusiasm and my passion for the subjects can be a little much, so I don't want to overdose anybody. And so what can it do? Well, it can actually kill cancer cells, and that's something that's well documented and written about by several well-known authors, going back almost 100 years now, to something that's commonly referred to as the Warburg effect, where cancer cells are actually starved because they depend primarily on glucose or blood sugar in order to survive. Then one of the reasons why cancer cells are cancer cells is because their respiration has been damaged and they can no longer make ATP from ketones or fat. They depend on fermenting sugar or glucose, which is a less efficient way of generating energy or ATP. So when you deprive them, guess what? They can't multiply and grow, and the fermenting process also produces a lot of free radicals, or we hear a lot about that now. Well, they're not able, when they start starving, they're not able to combat their own free radicals, and they actually begin to kind of poison themselves. So you can also lower your blood pressure very easily. You can lower your blood sugar, which is probably one of the most powerful things I learned. Was everybody ought to monitor their blood sugar. They ought to know what it is. You don't want to wait till you're diabetic to start checking your blood sugar. So naturally, if you can control your blood sugar, you can cure type 2 diabetes. People do it. It sounds ridiculous because all the people we know on medication and taking insulin, going blind, having amputations, suffering from neuropathy, all this is unnecessary. Is all the way up until the late stages of type 2 diabetes, the very last stage of type 2 diabetes, it's curable. And people do it every day. Why they're not screaming it from the rooftops, I don't know. But of course, learning all of this was a little frustrating because I certainly never heard any of it from my doctor. I didn't hear about it in school. I don't read about it in the newspaper. But you can repair a lot of damage to your body. One of the most powerful things you learn about fasting is that when you do an extended fast, your body enters something called autophagy. And autophagy is a system that everybody has that allows the body to go in and essentially recycle like damaged organelles in the cells. So when the body says, oh, look, this cell over here is damaged, it will take steps to remove or destroy the damaged part of the cell, and then regenerate the new organelles. So in a way, it not only helps you be healthier, but it's kind of anti-aging. So, and you also, your hormones go back to normal. I mean, flip on the TV and watch all the commercials for low T, or read all the articles about how hormone replacement was a big mistake. Well, what if your diet could just put your hormones back the way they should be? That's the reason why so many of my old injuries, like on my hand and my shoulder, my lower back, and all that, started healing up because my hormones went back into balance. My testosterone got much higher. So that's another thing that everybody can do for themselves. Well, that looks like the end of the first set of slides, so I hope you guys enjoy this video and I hope you look forward to the next one. Thank you very much.